The explosive third season finale of You has everything from roast dinners to die for to extreme cage therapy and a big twist setting up season 4. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm breaking down all the things you might have missed in the ending of You season 3, the clues that predicted the shocking conclusion, and what the future holds for Joe. We'll be talking spoilers, so take care if you're not all caught up. The fact that Joe would end up permanently severing his and his son's ties with Love in the finale was foreshadowed all the way back in the opening scene of the season, where he cut the umbilical cord between Love and baby Henry. And just an episode later, it was also hinted at by the couple's therapist, who had no idea of the serial killer she had for clients.
Neither one of you is going to kill your spouse. You're many things, but you are not murderers.
The problems in Joe and Love's marriage come to a head in the final episode when she serves him roast chicken, which she figured out was his favourite meal on their very first night out together.
Perfect bite?
Perfect.
That was also the night that Joe found out about Love's dead husband and when they both discovered how alike they were. Fast forward to now, where it's the dying days of their relationship, and roast chicken and dead husband discussion are back on the menu, with Love admitting to killing her first spouse by accident when she tried to temporarily paralyse him with aconite to stop him from leaving her. And now it's Joe's turn, as he unwittingly grabs a poison-laced carving knife that Love set to trap him.
This time I'm letting it absorb through the skin. None of this would be happening if you hadn't grabbed a weapon.
In their twisted obsession, Love and Joe are almost mirror images of each other, so she realised he'd go for the knife.
Love knows me better than anyone ever has. I'm starting to understand why that's so terrifying.
By the way, notice how Love used a glove to handle the carving knife before this, so that she wouldn't get the poison on her own hand. Love's choice of aconite, which is commonly known as wolfsbane, has an extra level of meaning in this show, because the word wolf used to be part of her and Joe's special love language.
I love you. Is there another word we can use?
I wolf you.
I wolf you too.
And in season 3, when Joe and Love are struggling to enjoy sex together, he bemoans the fact they don't say I wolf you anymore.
We've been domesticated.
I wolf you.
Wolf or dog on a leash.
There were also a few possible hints in season 2 towards Love's eventual use of wolfsbane on Joe, when she playfully attacked him with a toy wolf, a gesture that also signalled her penchant for slashing her victims' throats, and there was also the real wolf the Quinns brought to the wellness weekend, which snarled aggressively at Joe. Interestingly, after Marienne's advice to listen to the tiny voice in her own head, Love realises just how many things are wrong in her relationship.
I mean, you gaslit me so hard. I'm not the problem. My husband is the problem.
And she decides to cut her losses and goes to kill Joe with the same cutthroat MO she used on most of her previous victims. But Joe's already turned the tables on his mirror image wife. She just doesn't realise she's been hoisted by her own petard until he stabs her in the leg with a syringe full of her own deadly wolfsbane.
Our love language is violence.
And in a little visual gag, the jar of poison Joe pulled the wolfsbane from was labelled dye sample. Oh, and despite Joe's unfavourable views of the Madre Linda dads when he first meets them,
The haze of narcissistic delusion that just the right biohack you'll live forever.
it's actually biohacking that saves his life in the end. By the way, notice that Joe doesn't eat anything before he sees Love eat, because he was already worried about being poisoned, a callback to when Love brought him muffins after trapping him in his cage in season 2.
No poison, Joe!
Given their one-upmanship with poisonous wolfbane, Love and Joe have certainly brought very literal meaning to the term toxic relationship. Joe's recipe for a successful getaway involves cooking up a salacious story to keep everyone's minds occupied with juicy details, the aim being to stop them asking awkward questions about how true it is. And he certainly knows his audience, because the people of Madre Linda love to gossip and are more interested in manufactured reality than reality itself.
For the public, the brand is conventional monogamy.
So Joe sprinkles just enough believable information into the tale he concocts. Cue him preparing a chicken pot pie, using against Love the fact that she's a trained pastry chef and well known as the town's baker. And it's all somewhat ironic that part of Joe ends up in Love's chicken pie, given that chicken was his perfect bite in their early loved up days, and their wedding vows even included pastry.
You said you would always share a bite of your pastry with me no matter what.
Intriguingly, Joe's final plan was foreshadowed in the opening episode.
This isn't some German fairy tale where a witch keeps me locked up till it's time to eat me. me?
That's a shout out to Hansel and Gretel, where the witch who plans to eat the children is outwitted by them and ends up dying in her own fiery oven. On top of that, the way Jo turns Love into a legendary figure akin to the baker who made murder victims into meat pies in Sweeney Todd,
And Mrs. Lovett of Madre Linda.
is especially apt because in the musical version of that story, Todd burns the baker Mrs. Lovett to death after shoving her into an oven, while in the original story he kills her with poison. And let's not forget the little box of gruesome mementos that Jo leaves at Love's side, as well as Gil's driver's license. There's a bunch of teeth, probably Natalie's. We know Jo removed them to avoid dental records, as he did with Benji. And remember, he wouldn't tell Love what he'd done with them.
I just don't want to find them in a hidey hole in my house.
You won't. It's safer if you don't know.
Given that earlier in the same episode, Love refused to tell Jo what she'd done with Candace and Delilah's bodies,
It's safer if you don't know.
I imagine Jo kept the teeth in case Love tried pinning those season 2 deaths on him. After all, he admits to hanging onto another of Natalie's possessions for similar reasons and suggests using that to frame Matthew for her murder. With all the evidence in place to frame his dead wife, Jo sets the house on fire to ensure the crime scene's damaged enough to make the faked murder-suicide more plausible. He leaves the burning building to go in search of Marienne, exactly as was foreshadowed several episodes earlier.
For you, Marianne, I will walk through fire.
There were also some other early hints that telegraphed how Love would end up getting the blame for torching the house.
All you ever showed me was to get the prince, build a castle, and then burn it all to the ground.
And then there was Love's mother Dottie, who set light to her own vineyard during a bitter divorce, which would doubtless lead the town gossips to say, like mother, like daughter. And at the library gala, when Jo was panicking about Love and Marienne meeting up, his inner monologue predicted the events of the final episode.
I should orchestrate a disaster in the kitchen truck, turn up the oven, scorch the quail. It's like I'm watching my own execution.
Perhaps influenced by Love's dying words,
We're perfect for each other, but bad for Henry.
Jo realises he might not be a good father, and if he stays he'll be locked up as her accomplice, setting his son on the same damaging path as himself. So he tearfully leaves his baby with Dante and Lansing, and Henry is in safe, caring hands instead of Dottie's unstable, sozzled ones, or the lonely, potentially bullying hands of a group home. So hopefully for Henry, Jo's broken the harmful cycle set in motion by his own parents. At the start of the finale, Love told Kiki and co they were a bunch of scandal-hungry crows.
The no amount of feasting on other people's sorrows is going to make your lives less hollow.
But by the end of the episode, those same people are having a really good go at proving Love wrong as they dine out on her misery, building businesses profiting off her death. From the jokey pseudo-feminist rebrand of her bakery, targeted more at selling Insta-worthy t-shirts than good quality food like Love did,
Yelp suggests the scones are just okay.
to the at-home test for poison inspired by her use of toxic wolfsbane, to a self-help bestseller about kidnapping and caging.
Caged, a radical couples therapy technique.
As for Marienne, she takes Love's advice to get away from Jo, leaving no number or address behind. Due to her ex-husband, she already knew the dangers of toxic relationships.
I promised myself my next relationship would be above board and honest.
And though she'd pushed it aside, she'd had a bad feeling in her gut about Jo.
Something in me knew that it was too good to be true.
In fact, her words in that moment echo Beck's view of Jo in the season 1 finale.
And you knew somewhere deep it was too good to be true.
Unlike Jo, who believes in fairy tales,
How do I make you see I could be your happily ever after?
Marienne doesn't believe in damsels in distress. Instead, her favourite fairy tale is Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack was a little badass. I wanted to be him. Screw princesses.
So given all that then, when Jo wonders,
Did you pity me when you read what happened? Did it erase the fear she planted? Do you still think about us?
I imagine Marienne's answer would be a big fat no. The season ends with Jo taking his creepy stalking act on the international road.
I have to believe our paths are destined to cross again.
Paris is his destination of choice, as Marienne's originally from there, and she told him during her custody battle that's where she'd run to with her daughter if she thought her ex-husband wouldn't find them.
We'd spend our days drawing outside Sacré-Cœur.
Though Marienne mentions the famous Basilica of Sacré-Cœur, that's not where we see Jo in the final scene. He's actually here, a location the show show likely chose to recreate, as it has fantastic views of the Eiffel Tower, which immediately signals to viewers where Joe is. The name of the cafe is Le Chasseur Solitaire, which translates into English as the Lone Hunter, brilliantly fitting for Joe Goldberg and his continued solo predator activities.
I think I'm meant to be a lone wolf.
It does feel kind of ironic that after Joe lied about his ex Candice leaving him and running off to Europe, that's what seemingly has actually happened with Marienne. This isn't the first time that Paris has popped up on the show as a place to get away and start fresh either. Peach wanted Beck to move there with her and live at her parents' flat.
Paris could be a new beginning for the both of us.
And after caging Delilah in season 2, Joe suggested the French capital to love as a place to wipe the slate clean.
What if we leave together? Start over. You could finish cooking school in Paris.
By the way, those jingling bells on the cafe door are meant to make us think of Beck, Joe's first main infatuation in the series, which in many ways indicates he's right back where he started. Yes, he's in a new city, a new country even, but he's still the same old Joe. The barista may call him Nick, a sign that he's taken on a new identity for this next chapter, but Joe already has form for this. In LA, he kidnapped Will Bettelheim and stole his identity, though he did eventually free him and they kept in contact. So maybe Will helped him out with a fake passport to get out of the US. And perhaps Joe picked the name Nick, subconsciously thinking of Dr. Nicky, the man he falsely framed for the murder of Beck in New York. Although Joe's delusional antics in You are intriguing to watch, in real life, to keep our personal details away from creeps and snoopers like him, we all need to improve our online security. And a crucial part of keeping your online life private is using a VPN whenever you're online. If you're using public Wi-Fi like in a coffee shop, you're especially at risk from hackers who can break into your connection and access any personal data being transmitted. Using a quality virtual private network on your mobile devices like your phone and laptop will make sure you're protected against these threats, which is why at Flicks in the City we recommend NordVPN. A virtual private network creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and a VPN server, stopping your internet service provider or any other agencies from tracking you online, reading your emails and private messages, or seeing what websites you're visiting. Nord has an incredibly intuitive interface which lets you connect up to 6 devices at the same time, so you can use it on your computers at home as well as phones, tablets and laptops whenever you're out. And unlike free VPNs, Nord is incredibly fast with over 5,000 servers in over 60 countries worldwide. Nord is also great at helping you access any content which may be restricted in your region. You simply connect to a server in another country and then browse the internet as if you were there. For a limited time, all our viewers can grab a very special offer of a huge 73% off a 2-year plan, plus 4 bonus months for free. Just visit nordvpn.com/flicks or go to the link in the video description to get the offer, or use coupon code FLICKS when you check out. So what did you think of season 3 of You and how it ended, and what's in store for Joe next? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Coming up are more You videos with all the Easter eggs you missed in season 3 and more season 4 theories. You can tap here to watch those, and if you enjoyed this, then a thumbs up and a share are hugely appreciated. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!